Robert, wonderful to meet you. Where are you located on the planet?
Today I'm actually in Waterloo, Ontario, Canada, but I
Okay.
reside from out west in Calgary.
Okay, excellent. Well, it's
Yeah,
great. I'm in the center of America. I'm in Kansas City, Missouri, so it's great to meet you.
you
Um,
do.
and I would love to begin our conversation with your work, which I think a lot of it probably was affected. Sales was affected by going through the pandemic. How much of living through that time period has reverberated into the work that you do and the way that you live your life now?
Ooh, huge, I think.
Yeah.
Um, so actually, I think it's accelerated an entire era that I think began really from kind of 2010 right through 2020. The pandemic accelerated, and what I mean by that is like we call it the digital default era, where in sales used to be entirely face to face. And then, with the onset of texting and emailing, there was kind of this default to, well, I really don't got to go see people. They ask for, oh, just text me the proposal, let's just do by text. And they thought, well, that was cool. But when you're texting and emailing, of course, as we all know, that's not a conversation. It's great for information transfer, but it's not great for conversation. So COVID hits and everybody's driven into the cubicles.
Yeah.
And so there's literally, face to face goes down, what, 70, 80, 90%.
Yeah.
And now we've got the residual of that. And my sense, Joe, and in working in the last 2 years, as we do with salespeople in a classroom, training them, sales managers in a classroom, training them. We're spending an inordinate amount of time uh, discussing and talking about the basic skills of having a human interactive conversation, a ping pong game, right?
Yeah.
You ask me a question, I talk, then I reciprocate. I ask you a question, you talk, but I'm curious, what did you mean by that, Joe? Right? Tell me more about that. Where did that come from? Oh my God, Joe, like that's just like
Yeah.
it's almost dissipated.
Uh-huh.
So literally, we have companies now saying, uh, how do we bring back the art of conversation? And what about that crucial demographic that was just formulating that skill in the course of their life during COVID and weren't getting it?
Yeah.
So to answer your question, I think it's had a huge effect. I really do.
That's a fascinating perspective from a human psychological standpoint that I never even realized. And I've heard people talk about that. There's a lot of coaches out there that are helping people being able to speak again and to get in front of people. And I think that a lot of kids were probably affected by this more than anything else that
Oh
couldn't
yeah.
go to school or couldn't graduate or couldn't be in social functions. I mean, older people like us had enough mileage on our odometer and we're a little bit more adaptable. But what an interesting take. So I'm
Mhm.
curious. I want to get to the heart and soul of what you do on a daily basis. To do that, I want to put you in front of a bunch of grade school kids at career day. Let's say third grade kids. And one of the kids in the back of the room is like, hey, what do you do for a living? How do you
Mhm.
answer them?
Interesting. So, well, for 34 years, I don't know if I'd explain it like this to grade three kids, but in a nutshell, we help what we call salespeople. We now call them sales practitioners. They go into companies, and if they're really good, they are really interested in their customers. And by that, I mean they want to help customers to find a problem in their company and fix a problem inside their company. If they're
Yep.
really good, they really want to do that. So salespeople are much like doctors. They come inside your company and they look inside and they try to find something that maybe you can't even see, and they help you try to fix that. So we help teach those salespeople how to do that.
So what did you want to be when you were in that position in the third grade as a kid?
Like actually in third grade,
Yeah, like what did you want to grow up and become?
oh well, of course I didn't know,
Yeah.
but I knew that I was interested in people, the human condition, why do people behave the way they do?
Yeah.
Why do people end up doing the things that they do and the way they do them? And why are some people very happy and can make themselves happy? And geez, how come there's some people who can't figure out that formula? They expect it to come from somewhere else.
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't know. Maybe as a third grader, you've got that inside you. It's innate already, right?
Yeah, for sure. Well, how did these seeds develop? How did these seeds of motivating and sales, how did those get planted and harvested and evolve into your career today?
Hmm. Well, I think I was lucky, like most of us, Joe. I had some prominent people help me along the way. There was one guy in particular in my late teens. His name was Peter Schwertlich, an Austrian guy. I like to ski, and he took me on in his ski school and taught me to be a ski instructor. And that guy had 45 instructors working for him in a little hill in Ontario. And he took it upon himself to literally have everyone every day work on their own personal development, along with teaching skiing skills, etc. And I was just doing that part time. But that man, he took an interest in every single person in their own personal development. So that was a wonderful aura and climate and culture that just got inside me. And so in my professional life, I started off as an engineer, and I realized I liked people more than I liked machines. And the teaching people and developing people became fun. It was just fun because every person is just so interesting. Everybody's dying to tell their story.
Yeah,
If
absolutely
you
there.
if you know if you just give them that opportunity,
Yeah,
right? They're dying to tell their story,
yeah,
and there's so much in that, and always there's a spot where we're up against something.
yeah,
So that, from there, then I went on to work in sales at Xerox, and that's what sales became. Every single customer was, oh my God, every company is just such a mess,
yeah,
and not that that's a bad thing. They're just in their evolution, and they're in your own product area, you're trying to help them solve problems in that product area, and you're seeing things that could help them.
yeah.
And I think that's kind of what's brought me here. So I built my own company 34 years ago to build sales cultures and train salespeople and train sales managers. And now here we are. And it's just 30 years has gone by like a blur. But
Yeah.
it's with that intention, right?
Yeah.
Go out and help people find problems and fix problems.
So, what was the first time that you helped somebody and you saw that spark in their eyes, or you saw the change and you felt like, this is my calling, this is what I need to be doing with my life?
The very first time, boy. Um, Geez, how far back do you go? Um, I can give a sales example, personal example, or an outdoor adventure example. Outdoor adventures was something I enjoyed that came along with my whole life, mountain adventures. So I enjoy, mountains, climbing them, bike riding in them, and a lot of backcountry skiing. So you end up over time taking groups out.
Yeah.
And it's interesting. The mindset doesn't matter if it's in a career or if it's an outdoor personal sport you're trying to learn or anything. People really learn through adventure.
Yeah.
And an adventure is usually doing something you've never done, going to a place you've never been. So if you have some experience that can help take people to a place they've never been, it's like the eyes of a child, right? They come alive. And it's a natural thing. It's play, and we don't lose that as adults. We actually, if we nurture it and feed it, we enjoy it even more. So
So, who's been that hero for you? Who's been that consistent inspiration that's allowed you to continue to play at the top of your game and to accomplish what you've done in your career?
ah man, again, many, many, many people have helped. People that have put their trust in me. I'm going to take a risk. I'll take, there was one of a few of my favorite clients. I mean, I love them all, but the key is they entrusted me and my team with their workforce, their sales force, and said, "Okay, what would you do if you were me? What could you do with them?" And they allowed me to work with that. So there was one guy, for example, Mike Badowski. Oh my God, he's just so great to work with. Um, he built up a culture. He took on a culture and accelerated it, along with another guy named Doug Timmon, who became the president at that company. And they just work so well with you. They trust you, right? They empower you. They say, "How would you do this?" And you shape the project, and they say, "Yeah, go do it. And we'll, what do you need from us? And we'll stand by you and support you." So Mike comes to mind very quickly. He trusted me and my team to do what we were supposed to do, and he did what he needed to do to collaborate and support. So it kind of got rid of that. Um, we're the customer and you're the supplier, so we're in charge, or we're going to lord over the supplier. They didn't have that. And the best companies work that way with not only their own people and their own customers, but their own suppliers. I found that an interesting indicator of a culture, a corporate culture. Because people think a corporate, you go into a company and you say, "Well, what's the culture like here?" And they go, "Well, how do you treat your customer?" You say, "Oh, we treat them great. That's nice." How do you treat your employees? "Oh, our employees are very important to us." I go, "Yeah, how do you treat your suppliers?" And I find that as they treat in the end, there's a string. They're going to end up treating all three very well or none very
Yeah.
well.
Yeah.
So Mike did a great job to answer your initial question.
Yeah.
He is just so cool that way, right? He
Yeah.
didn't matter if you were a customer, an employee, or supplier, you were a person,
Yeah.
and that was Mike. And I really appreciate that
For
from him.
sure. S-
Yeah.
So I'm intrigued by you talking about the outdoors and mountains. What was the one mountain you scaled that was probably one of the biggest accomplishments that you've had?
Uh, hmm. Each mountain teaches you something.
Yeah, right.
There's been hundreds. But well, the first one I ever climbed was Mount Robson, which was it's the highest peak in the Canadian Rockies, and it's it, the reason it taught me the most is because it's the most foolish thing I ever did. We got in so much trouble. We were so unprepared. Oh my God, we had so much trouble. My buddy broke his leg. I won't get into the story. It was
Wow.
horrible. We had to
Wow.
get rescued, but we made it to the top.
Yeah.
But it was the reason that it's huge in my mind is because the life lessons in it were just such good metaphors for life.
Yeah.
And life is a no-fall zone. Everything has consequences. You got to be present. You got to just planning isn't enough.
Yeah.
You got to be in it. And the mistakes that I made on that mountain, they almost cost us our life.
Wow.
But it brought forward how precious and exciting and important adventure is and life is. And if we really pay attention to it and don't coast,
Yeah.
don't coast,
Yeah. Yeah.
right?
Totally.
You know,
Totally.
it's like Benjamin Hardy wrote this really good book, Beyond Your Future Self, and his big claim is your future is bigger than your past.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
Like, don't stop. You know, Retirement is a myth.
Yeah.
We're
I get it.
living way past that now. You are so capable of producing bigger decisions and taking on bigger adventures and projects and helping and finding and fixing problems. It's what makes your life meaningful.
Yeah, for sure.
As AI comes on and starts challenging us in our careers, right?
Yeah.
We want to find a meaningful career, find and fix problems.
Yeah. Totally. So let me ask you this. Speaking of youth, if you had a dream tonight, you ran into the 18-year-old version of you, a young version, and you could give that version of you a piece of advice based on this life you've led, the wisdom you've accumulated over time, What
Hmm.
advice would you impart on that young version of you?
I think the awareness that there are life stages.
Yeah,
And I don't know about you, Joe, but in travels in different countries on different continents outside of Western society where we have it so nice, there are many, many societies and civil parts of civilization that revere their elders, and uh, these are people who have prepared their next life stages
yeah,
to be valuable, right? So, geez, if I would have known at 18 that we're now going to live to be 80, 90, 100, provided we take reasonably good care of ourselves, that then in 10 years there's going to be a next life stage that's even better than this one. We're needed. Like lead, go take something on and don't be afraid of making mistakes. Just take on the next life stage
yeah,
and take interest in that.
yeah,
You know way more than you know.
yeah,
You know way more than you think you do, right? And you're
yeah,
gaining wisdom, you're gaining experience, you're gaining knowledge, and no matter what hardship you're going through, use that. Others are going through the same. So
yeah.
wish I would have known that when I was 18.
Yeah, that's such great advice. So, of everything that you've done and evolved into at this point in your life and accomplished, what are you ultimately the proudest of?
Proud of stuff. Well, I have 4 kids. I love them dearly, and I have 3 grandkids. So um, they have they give me great joy, right? But it's not my accomplishment, right? It's nothing to be proud of. It's just a privilege to
Yeah,
be part of their lives, right? So
yeah,
I think I don't know if proud of. I'm relieved that I discovered that you're if you become less obsessed with one, what you're in control of, and two, less obsessed with what you know. It's way more fascinating. What you don't know is way more fascinating, and there's more of it.
yeah, yeah. I
And
agree.
those two things I think are paramount.
So, at the end of the day, everyone out there has a perception of you, Robert. Family, friends, clients, colleagues, but you run the show. What's your perception of you? Who do you think you are?
Hmm, I think I am. Geez, that's a big question, Joe.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's the therapy question.
yeah, who am I? I am who shows up every day.
Yeah,
Who shows up and what shows up in my life is what I am. Find it interesting, Joe, the way I have learned to, in a healthy way, investigate that question is to not attach to identities.
yeah,
Not to attach to identities. Yes, I'm a father, but am I just playing a role? Yes, I'm a business owner, but am I supposed to announce that that's somehow a thing?
yeah,
Because it's constantly changing, it's constantly evolving. I don't want to attach myself to something that I was 5 years ago, 10 years ago, 20 years ago, because it's evolved past that. So if I start attaching to something now, who I am, I know what I do. What I do every day is I try to say, who's showing up with me today, and in my current work, what can I do to it's fun if we know that in relationship we are half the relationship and you affect my relationship and I affect yours, then that means we can lift each other. So can I do that every day with my kids, my friends, my employees, my customers, right? So that's who I am. I'm trying to give a lift and get a lift. I need all the help I can get, right?
yeah,
So
for sure. So, if anyone wants to pick up a copy of Cheating Death, they want to hire you for coaching, learn more about what you're doing, any of the good business in your world, where can they go?
Yeah, right now. So right now they can go to PAALTD.com, which is kind of our parent company. They can go to thrivecoreinc.com. We just have our landing page coming out in the next week, but it's going to be Spire Selling. So look for the landing page, Spire Selling. If they Google search anything it has to do with Spire Selling, they'll find it'll lead them to our complete body of work. And
Okay.
that's
Wonderful.
books and courses, online courses, and then consulting services, etc.
Okay, Robert, this has been wonderful. Thank you, sir. Thank you for your story. Thank you for your time. I appreciate it.
Thanks, Joe. This has been great.
Yeah,
Hope to see
absolutely.
you
Thank you.
again.